The belle of the cable news ball. She hosts the story every day on the Fox News channel. And if you're watching on Fox Nation, she's the one who lent me this jacket. Martha MacCallum.
And I was going to give it away.
Here you are.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, she offered it to Goodwill. They said no. I was like, hey, I'll take it. Would you like the backstory real quick? Can you humor this?
Absolutely.
So some of the jackets I wear on Fox News Saturday night that we characterize as like my overweight figure skater collection. Once in a while, I'll find a jacket on like an internet website and I don't order it because I honestly don't know if it's going to come. So I'll go onto one of those websites and order like the $40 jacket just to see if the shipping's dependable. This thing I'm wearing, which is like a leopard print denim jacket, I ordered this 9 months ago, and it just randomly waltzed into my life last Saturday.
You know what? It's so funny because some things you order, they show up like before you can finish hitting the button.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that was weird. Yeah. And then other things you think to yourself weeks later, I think I ordered that. I don't know if that ever came.
That's such a good point. And,
it's crazy.
And this one, I had no idea. But
thank God it showed up. That's all I want to say. Oh, that is
good.
That would have been like, woo!
Martha MacCallum taking shots at the champ.
Get her out. Get her out of here.
No, we're not ejecting Martha. Everybody knows Martha. But it's spelled Versachi.
And then SKZ.
The old Times Square Rolex. That was a staple of my cab driving days in the Canal Street pocketbook. Mm-hmm. And there's a big market of people who come here and go buy them.
I know.
And I used to, it's funny, when I was driving a cab, because my garage was down in Chelsea, we used to go to Canal all the time because you'd get women who were basically coming here on like girls' trips.
Right.
And they'd go day drinking and go shopping.
And let's go get a Louis Vuitton bag on the street.
One thing I confess to you, and then we'll move on and do some adulting. And you might think less of me for this.
No.
But there's an old ejection strategy cabbies use. It's called a Sex in the City. What that means is everybody's aware of the iconic movie franchise and TV franchise Sex and the City. Okay, if you are nearing the end of your shift, okay, and you get, say, we're going to go down to Spring Street, we're going shopping where the cobblestones are and everything, going to Grand and Broadway, whatever, okay, and you can't conceivably get them there and make it back to your garage on time, you can pull a Sex in the City, which is, are you guys by chance shopping today? And you know they are because they have like 8 bags. Like, how did you know? Oh, good. Thank God you told me. They're filming some pickup shots for Sex in the City.
Oh, that's hilarious.
On 6th Avenue.
They are?
And they are harassing us for extras. They put out like an APB to the garage. Like, I don't know what your schedule's looking like.
This might have happened to me once.
For real, Martha, you go, I don't know what your schedule's like, but if you had the time, you'd be in Sex in the City because they need the people.
How many times did you convince
in
people
my
to
life,
do
like
this?
10 times.
Wow.
But it got me out of like legitimate fares. And the worst.
Is it like, just get off on this corner? I promise it's right around the corner.
No. You actually take them to that said address where the Angelica Film Center is, and it looks plausibly like someone might be shooting
hilarious.
there. And they always over tip you for the rides. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. This made a trip Sex in the City.
What's your name, Jimmy? We're going to see you next time.
And then you get back. And one thing I can tell you.
They're watching you right now these days. They're going, that is the guy who dropped us off. Sex in the City.
If you flew here from the other side of the country to go shopping on 5th Avenue, the inconvenience to you is by no comparison whatsoever to what would happen to a down on his luck cabbie if the cab wasn't back. So, I mean, am I saying I'm the good guy? No. But I was,
you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
I was the smaller of the two victims, Martha. That's all I'm saying. So there's a whole big world out there. Thanks for joining us. I know nothing. I mean, we're following what's going on in the Middle East. I think it's very important to issue a qualifier, as I have, that I'm not in these intel briefings. So I can't speak to what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong. I can just hope for the best. And I feel like we're in a similar position in that regard, even though you have a lot more adulting to do on TV than I do. We know what we know. But if you're not in that circle, we're kind of the guys that are calling into sports talk radio telling Tom Brady what he can do better. But we weren't really in the huddle, now were we? That's my thing.
You know, I think that this is President Trump is in the middle of making an enormous decision right now. And, you know, this is so typical. Yesterday, there was a piece that said, you know, why isn't he consulting his National Security Council? Right. So today he's in the briefing room with them. He was in Canada yesterday, came back a day early, and he's speaking with them. But ultimately, this decision lies on the president's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And I was speaking to an Iranian expert who was born in Iran, but left when the Shah fell. She happens to be Jewish and have a lot of family in Israel as well. And, you know, I said, what do you say to people who say, we don't want to be in a long, protracted war? And she said, well, you know, what I say is look back at World War II and ask yourself, if there was a moment when Hitler could have been stopped, would you have taken it?
Yeah.
And I think the same thing about Osama bin Laden, because there were opportunities to take out Osama bin Laden before 9/11.
Yeah, going back to Bill Clinton.
And it didn't happen. So that's the kind of moment that President Trump is in right now. And I think he is weighing all sides. He just went out with a barrage of like, we know where you live, Ayatollah. And don't think we won't use this information, but we think you ought to, knock down your program. But the one thing I'll say, Jimmy, about eliminating the nuclear program, it's all he has.
Yeah.
The Ayatollah, you notice that Hezbollah is not firing any rockets. Neither is Hamas. Neither are the Houthis. The only thing the 86-year-old Ayatollah has, and remember, his number 2 guy got taken out in a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
Accident, they say.
As you do.
The only thing he has is chanting death to America and working on a nuclear weapons program. That is it.
Yeah.
They have no economy. They have no currency. He's got thousands, is the rough number, of people who are turning intelligence against him to the Israelis. Yeah. So he's in a very tough spot, and word is he doesn't trust anyone around him. Can you imagine why? So this is a really significant historic moment, and I don't doubt that the president is weighing all of these very carefully, and we'll see what he decides.
Fair. Martha MacCallum's in studio, giving us an assessment of what's going on in Iran. I am not a foreign policy expert. I know the cheat code in Contra on the Nintendo. Like if you needed unlimited lives to fight in the swamp.
I don't know that.
Well, that's why you sometimes you think about the work they assign you and me, and you wonder if they thought this through. Do they even know? Jimmy knows the cheat code in Contra. I don't know that they do, Martha. They do now.
They do now. But useful information. You might be called upon for higher duty.
I laugh. I think it's funny. But you know what? When it comes to Iran, if you just took the step back and everyone listening said this to themselves, is there any world where we're better off if the guy who chants death to America has a nuclear bomb? And I think the short answer is no.
Yeah, I think that would be the short answer.
And I think what they're probably ultimately weighing is, he obviously issued that Truth Social post saying we know where you live. We're not going to take you out, but we could. I think this is always the challenge, is if he does go, who steps in? And that's why I don't think they're in a rush to push for regime change. But at the same time, how could they not want regime change? Is there a world where if they get rid of the nuke program, they can still abide this guy? I don't think there is.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. I think they have nothing left. Is that to say that there isn't a significant Shia population that supports the regime? Yes. But there are so many people, so many women who do not want to live in a hijab.
Yep.
So many people who want to be able to have freedom in that country. Iran is the Persian culture, the Persian Empire. It is a culture that is incredibly rich. There used to be a similar culture in Iraq. There was a time when Iran and Israel had a very close relationship. They had a lot in common. There was a lot of cross-cultural and academic interaction. There are a lot of people in Iran who dream of that day again. Yeah. And there has never been a moment when the Ayatollah was more tenuous than he is right now. And I think a lot of people think about tipping points.
Yeah.
And think we may not get a better one than this.
This might be the move right here. And I could definitely see that, because I think that's the challenge for him internally, is the people don't want this. I mean, they, to their credit, which is a very risky thing to do. Like, we take protests for granted over here. It's just like a thing that you do now on social media. I mean, they spoke out against this regime, previously at great risk to
many
themselves.
Of them ended up in prisons or killed.
Yeah.
And it's very serious stuff. It's not like what you see on Jesse Waters, where the woman's like, I don't really know why I'm protesting, but I just like being out in the sunshine in the afternoon, and I think it's really bad what he's doing.
It's so funny, Martha, because we talk about it's like bad and stuff. This is like, Trump is like a fascist. I'm like, well, not if you're in the streets.
I just hate everything he does. And you're like, okay, what happened to the education system in the country?
It is crazy. And I'm trying to make sense of the fact that Gavin Newsom is running for president of Mexico at this point. He just wants to be a president. He's like, I'll cater to them. I don't know. Everybody's at a loss right now, because this is what's happening. I've been saying this is just my opinion, but I feel like the Democrats try to misrepresent minority opinions as majority opinions. That's what No King struck me as. Because the recent polling, and it's a Harvard-Harris poll that's out today, has 56% supporting Trump on his use of the National Guard, which means they're in the minority on this, but they do through the use of optics, try to manufacture the belief that like, no, people are mad about this. But I don't know that they are, because I think it's a straw man argument. We didn't have a king at the beginning of the day.
I mean, judging by some of the people that we talked to in the protest, they're not even really sure why they're there.
No, they think it's a Sacramento Kings. They're like, basketball's bad.
Exactly. But you've got a recent poll, I think it was a Marquette poll, 60% of immigrant citizens want to see people who are here illegally removed.
Yeah.
And I think, there's always been that to an extent, that the prior immigrants, always want the new guys to leave. But what we saw over the past few years was so egregious, and people have that image of just people pouring across the border. And now, it's interesting. President Trump's making this turn on, well, if you're a farmer or you work in a hotel, and you've been there for a long time, maybe the rules should change.
Yeah.
We need these people. So he's starting to kind of evolve on it. Now he's saying only inner cities, we want to crack down. I mean, another option would be to say, if you came here over the last 4 years, and you're not entrenched and you walked across the border, you're going to have to leave. And that includes, anywhere from 12 to 20 million people in that group. So
that's a lot of people. And then you've got the people in New York right now who look around Midtown and assume they've already been deported. They're like, hey, wait, what's going on over here on 46th Street?
They're like, how come no one speaks English in this world?
The Roosevelt Hotel? This guy was president and this is the hotel? Oh, it's a mess, Martha. All right, I know you got to go do some adulting. Give me one more and then we can get on our way. It's a hard break now. Now it's bigger than you and me now.
It's bigger than you and me.
At 57, they just cut these mics and we got to go. There's not a heck of a whole lot we can do about it. But we are making our way into July. I would imagine the MacCallums are big advocates of a proper 4th of July celebration.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to run through some yay or nays at the grill.
Okay.
Do they serve mac and cheese?
Yes.
Cornbread?
No.
Okay. Baked beans?
Yes.
Burger, dog? Or
Well, I shouldn't say no to cornbread. Sometimes, yeah.
It's sometimes there.
Yeah.
I don't consider it indispensable because...
Depends on which way you're going. Are you going cheeseburgers or are you going like the beans and cornbread and barbecue chicken?
Yes, if you're making chicken,
so it's
you're
either
right.
all that way or it's like the cheeseburgers and hot dogs and chips.
It is so true, but that's the difference between you and me. Okay, because at my barbecue, you're doing both. That's why that's funny. But
I'm
anyway,
coming to your house.
Yeah,
then.
no, there's good action. I got a good country girl. She lights up the smoker. It all happens.
Nice.
So we're fired up for that. Okay, the last one. Were you, because this tells a lot of insight into what the adults
And we always
thought of you.
attend a proper 4th of July parade.
You damn right
Very
you do.
important.
Every year in the
Get up
Faillas.
and go to the parade. I put my chairs out the night before, my blanket out the night before. You got to be there.
Okay. Did you, as a kid, did you have a sparkler?
Absolutely.
You did. You write your name
I still
and
have sparklers.
I
you
love
kidding me?
a name and script.
I bought them recently at like a road stop place. So I'm like, gotta have the sparklers for the 4th of July.
So I love this. You know how they stopped teaching cursive in schools?
Yeah.
And it's so,
back,
I know, but it disappoints me because I was last year of the 4th of July, all the kids had sparklers. And I'm like, why does nobody write their name and script? And I was like, I get it.
Because they don't know cursive, but it is coming back.
Make July 4th great again. That's the closing message. Get your kid out there.
Maja.
Teach your kid cursive using fire.
Love
That's the official message. We'll see you on the story today and every day. The great Martha MacCallum.
Thank you.